I brought my SAT score up over 300 points to a 1580, and today I'll be giving my tips to you guys on how to crush your SAT. I'm no expert or teacher and I didn't get a perfect score, but this was highly requested and I really wanted to share with you guys. Because even though I go to a really awesome school and I have a lot of amazing support around me, I mostly self-studied for this. And I hold the very strong belief that anyone, despite your background or how smart you think you are at certain subjects, can succeed on this test. All right, first up, we have the English section. You read and write a lot. So I'm forced to, on a daily basis, confront new vocab words, different grammar rules. And because that's such a habit for me, whenever I'm taking the test, it honestly just feels like an extension of what I'm usually doing. If I remember correctly, there are only about 11 different types of questions that you can get on the English section. They fall under a few different categories, and you can practice these individual categories in College Board in like the practice SAT suite, whatever it's called. So if there are specific types of questions that you struggle with, maybe it's those graphing science question, maybe it's those transition words, that was actually one of my biggest pain points, then you can just specifically work on those. The main trick of the SAT is that the more familiar you are with it, the easier it will be. My score went up a lot just by taking my second test because I understood what types of questions they were asking and what sorts of answers they were looking for. Something that I learned was that the questions are often designed a little bit to trick you, but there will always be something wrong about the wrong questions. The wrong answers. So you should take as many practice exams as possible. And I'm not just talking like the real PSATs. I'm talking on Blue Book, they have 9 or 10 full-length practice tests, and you should take all of them. Don't just take them, go over the answers. Go over the answers you got wrong, obviously, but also go over the answers you got right and ask yourself if you could do them faster. Because for me, one of the hardest parts about the SAT was the fact that you do not have a lot of time, especially in those second modules in reading and math. When you're truly in the SAT zone, you'd be able to smell an SAT problem versus just a regular problem from a mile away. The format's familiar, problem types are repeated because there's only so much content that they can test. Sometimes you'll even get repeated questions test to test. My final advice for English is to watch some key YouTube videos going over the grammar rules. This is a guaranteed way to add 50 to 100 points to your score depending on how you're currently doing. Because if you want to score in that top range, you cannot afford to be missing these grammar problems. They might seem confusing, but honestly, they're pretty simple. There's lots of key rules, just understanding when semicolons are used, knowing that a period and a semicolon are interchangeable, and so if they're both in the answer choice, neither are right. Little tricks like that. Trust me, they will become second nature. One final trick that I used in the English section, including whenever I got my perfect verbal score on the PSAT, which it actually is pretty important to perform well in your junior PSAT because this can help you qualify